everybody ready for this? Am I ready for this? Is the echo too much? Let's find out. Welcome everyone to Spoiler Warning. This is a show hosted by me, Tom Colohue. My name's up there. Check it. Welcome to Casa Hugh, a brand new location. A location of a massive echo that may ruin any and all audio. You may just be getting constant reverb. There's unfortunately nothing I can do. There's no door in this room. There's no blind or curtain. There's a wooden floor. Guys, I'm trying. But first and foremost, welcome back. It's been 2 weeks, 2 long weeks, that I've basically spent pulling wallpaper off ceilings and trying to keep a clean hallway when the floor is literally caving in with every step that I take. I'll be watching you, but you'll be watching me as I fall through that floor. Thankfully, hasn't happened yet, will do eventually, not something we can spend money on right now. My family will be moving in about 2 weeks. They haven't packed anything yet. There's gonna be a rude awakening, and I'm not gonna enjoy that in the moment, but will afterwards. But I'm already here. Everything I own and want to keep is in this house. And let me introduce you to some of the furnishings. You're gonna love this. That's a green wall. I hate it. I want rid of it. Was a lot worse. There was a lot of sort of Bob Marley stuff on there. For those who don't know, that's not necessarily a life for me. Wasn't a fan, decided to move that on. There was also, on this here chimney breast, this part's a chimney breast. I'll work out whether to turn the camera or not eventually. But on this part, which is a chimney breast, there was a massive leaf. Not a maple leaf, not a Canadian thing, but it was built into the wall. And then I took the wall down. So this is a wall I've been breaking down. If you look up there, and you can't for a reason, there's still bits of wall that I have to break. So the job has barely even started. But we're back. And we ain't going nowhere. I've been taking videos so that I can put together a members only video essentially showing the move, the transformation, the development of the room. You're going to get to see that at some point soon. It'll be members only for a bit, then it'll become more common, as it were, more common knowledge. That's where I was going for with that. That's a phrase. So when that is out, you will see how things have developed. It'll take a little while because we're still going. The paint needs to go next. That's going to be happening. Then I'll start painting things. This is an incredibly uneven wall. That's just a hole. That's just a hole in the wall. Anyway, once that's filled, we'll get that painted. We'll get this painted. I'll probably tilt over here somewhere, just like a little bit that way. And that makes a bit more sense because then you can't see the chimney breast. But I'll get something behind me, potentially a green screen, because over there, I'm going to put the desk for the girls. And they want a green screen so they can make stuff. Anyway, more on that shortly, because we have news and so many people are asking me for news because nobody seems to want to know about my house. Sorry guys. We have 66 people here, 22 likes. Thank you everyone for not forgetting me. Don't. Our top story today will of course be the rebuilding currently being undertaken in the WWE, particularly former main eventers dropping down the card and a number of different wrestlers being told, thanks, but no thanks, we no longer want you. There is a big transformation currently being undertaken on the WWE roster. It also touches a little bit on TNA, and one of the reasons we're seeing the continentalization approach as well. Plus, in addition to that, a little bit on AEW, potentially picking up some of those who are being released. We're also going to be talking social media training for a number of newer debuts, including one big message sent to Jacob Fatu, WWE response to the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley storyline, and a little something on CM Punk and Summerslam. As regards to Wyatt 6, unfortunately right now, I don't have anything new. I've not been able to reach out to as many people as I would like recently, but thankfully we are getting there, and I am slowly getting up to speed. One thing you will find interesting is that I used to read from my script there. That's an ironing board. Now it's there, which is funny because when I move my mouse, I go from the monitor to the TV. That's not how it used to be. It used to be I go from the monitor to the TV. And I liked that it was broken, and now it works. And now I don't like that. But anyway, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone for joining me. I want to read through some of these comments and we'll get to some news. Hello Spider-Boss, hello Michael, hello Sean. Yes, Tiffany could or could not be a successful cash-in. Hello Bailey, nice to see ya. Sean says a lot of negative reaction to Nick Nemeth winning the TNA World title. Yeah, well, they know what's had their breads buttered. I couldn't turn the phrase as much as I would like. We got there in the end. I keep trying to go over there to go onto this screen. It's so confusing. Anyway, let's catch up. Lots of people in the chat before we got started. Thank you very kindly, everyone who did join us there. Zane says the TNA fans were not happy that Joe Hendry did not win the TNA World title at Slammiversary. I thought Joe Hendry was going to win the world title, not Nick Nemeth. Joe Hendry is the future star. Nick Nemeth is a recognisable brand current star. Also, Joe Hendry likely to not be there for a little while. More on that story later. And for an interview, TNA World Championship is the premier championship in all wrestling. Do you agree with him? No, obviously not. Mick says, great to have you back, mate. Hope you enjoy your Casa Hugh. We did have a chat before the show started. And Casa Hugh seems to be what settled on for the new house. I'm chuffed, and I shouldn't be, because it's not exactly hard to come up with stuff like that, and yet I keep doing it. Mick says, great to have you back, mate. Hope you enjoy your Casa Hugh. Thank you, Mick. Mark says, Tommy's back, baby. Hope you and the family are well. How is everything going with the new house? Well, a lot of this will be in the members only video, but for those that aren't channel members, that's the phrase I was looking for, I'll give you some highlights so far. The wallpaper in this room, which was on the ceiling because it's an echoey room, please do let me know if the echo is too bad, guys. Let me know, because I can certainly hear it. And if you guys can't, perfect. I do have a bit of a... It's a pop lot. It's a pop card. It's not the same thing. But the wallpaper here, I pulled, and it all came down. I wanted to get one of those strangely satisfying TikTok accounts purely for that moment. On the flip side of that, this house has not been particularly well maintained and has some strange choices that have been made. For example, they installed a jacuzzi bath. When we started cleaning it, it looked like Weetabix was coming out. Oatmeal? It wasn't nice. And also, there was a TV lead in one of the bedrooms that wasn't connected to anything. There was just a box that should have had it, and it was back to front, so the wire wasn't coming from outside the house. And as I took it off, a dead mouse fell out. No way it could have gotten in there. Someone put that in there. Not even any mice in the house. It seems pretty clean when it comes to that level, but someone put that in there. Highlights and low. Anyway, other than that, it's massively improved from what it was. I'm very happy with it, and ultimately, I, on my own salary and the generosity of people like yourself, have a 4-bedroom house which my family can now live in comfortably in 2 weeks, because they have to and they have no choice. It's not comfortable at all. Anyway, Danny says, hello Tom, welcome back my friend, hope you're settling in well. Doing well so far, Danny, welcome to the show. Razal says, hello Tom, spoiler warning is back, I'm seated. And Ishi says, hello Tom, hope you're okay, doing very well, thank you Ishi, welcome to this show. Khalid says, I'm glad Tom returned just before SummerSlam. And Roman, you'll never see it coming. Eric says, hey Tom Colohue, how are you doing? Great seeing your face again. Very happy. I'm in a very good mood because I'm working again. I've missed you guys. No YS6 news today, unfortunately. Eric says, are you back for good, or is this a one-time stream because of the releases? Nope, I'm back for good. In fact, we'll be coming back with PLE Wednesdays and WTF Wrestling. You're going to see a lot more of this old face right in front of you. Ricky says, any news on the new guy that signed with the WWE that's going to join the Bloodline? I forgot his name, sorry. Coolio. You're going to need to tell me what you're talking about, unfortunately. Leon says, hi Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you, Leon. Ross says, things are never easy, Tom, but it'll all be worth it. Hopefully so. Hopefully so. It's been a mission, it's been difficult, but it will be worth it. Worst comes to worst, I own a house, which is not something I ever believed possible. Spider-Boss says, I think WWE could have done more with Lashley. More on Lashley soon. And Fiverr says, hey Tom, how are you? Hope you're good and the family. Doing very well, thank you. Welcome to the show. Spider-Boss says, do you think Jey Uso will get involved in the Liv and Dom and Rhea storyline? No. Joe says, hey Tom, I am, you're well. I'm glad you're well. Well. As regards Jey Uso, he's finding ways to get involved in pretty much everything, but he can't do everything. Come on, calm down. Also, I do feel that come SummerSlam, he'll be elsewhere. Eric says, let's get those likes up. Thank you, Eric. And NS says, everyone hit like as well. Thank you kindly. Ricky Fawn saying much the same. Appreciate you. She also says, I'm surprised they took this long to remove Tamina from the internal roster. I do believe she retired a while back. Yeah, she was removed from the internal roster a long time ago. This is wrestling media just catching up with a question that they never thought to ask. Julian Montez says, we're back. Hope all is well, Tom. So happy to see the progress. You'll see it bit by bit. Bit by bit. But happy to see it coming along. Ishii says, will the YS6 be doing anything tonight? Yes. David says, Tom, are the Motor City Machine Guns signing with WWE like Uncle Dave claimed? I believe I've been asked this a couple of months ago and we haven't seen anything of them, so who can tell? Dave Meltzer, not really a trustworthy source anymore. Hector says, welcome back, Tom. Today, Warner Media has officially matched the 1.8 billion, I'm guessing, media rights deal Amazon has offered the NBA. Let's see how this affects the AEW deal that's incoming, if it even does. I would imagine or hope that they've put information and money aside, ready to make the deal that they need to make. However, business is awkward. Spider-Boss says, Liv Morgan as heel feels so forced. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Liv doesn't get booed as a heel. Yeah, she gets booed as a heel. Danny says, Tiffany's new pink briefcase on the way. Now Bailey smashed it up. I did mention a pink briefcase, did I not? Chris says, welcome back, Tom. You've been missed. Hope the house move went well and all is good. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. The house move has gone pretty smoothly so far. There are, of course, things that can change in that time. Zane says, Earl Hebner returned to TNA Slammiversary to get involved in the Bailey versus Mustafa Ali match. Probably shouldn't have. He brings a bit of baggage with him. And Sean says, thoughts on Stephanie Vaca signing with WWE? Is she going to NXT? Yep. Is it possible Stephanie could dethrone Roxanne instead of Julia? Yep. Thank you, NS, for the confirmation that the echo isn't coming through. Bailey says, per a Twitter post today by Johnny Gargano on a story in today's Cleveland newspaper, the restaurant owned by his father for 50 years was lost to fire last evening. One firefighter was injured, but his dad was not hurt. Bad news, obviously, about the fire. Good news, no one was seriously hurt. The firefighter, hopefully, will make a full recovery. Danny says, can we expect a few title changes at SummerSlam? Yes. Juan says, hey Tom, gone to Dave Meltzer, said he doesn't believe AEW will re-sign with Warner Bros. Discovery because TK is not getting a respectable increase. He does though see FX as a suitor. Any thoughts? I think there will be a number of different options available. There have been discussions with Warner Brothers, but Tony Khan doesn't seem happy with the money on offer. He's not getting a respectable increase. He's not really being offered an increase at all. And in fact, if he accepted the money on offer from Warner Brothers, he'd have to fire a lot more people. Unfortunately, because of the exclusivity deal, he doesn't know if he's going to get better elsewhere. I don't think he is. Gotcha, Edit, was it Coolio? Brilliant. Spider-Boss says, somehow I think the new bloodline will come after Jey Uso after SummerSlam, if Jey Uso doesn't come after them first at SummerSlam. Keenan says, hi Tom, hope you're well and settled. Any Alexa Bliss updates? Nope, just what I've been posting on Twitter. She's ready to return. The WWE are putting things in place. She says, I hope everything is good with your new house. Everything's going brilliantly, thank you. There's still a lot of work to do, but bit by bit, we're getting there. Chris says, speedy recovery is Sky Blue, who suffered a broken ankle against Hikaru Shida on Collision on Saturday. And Sid says, will we see the Usos be getting back to the tag team anytime soon? Yes. Sean says, PWN, and I stopped reading. Michael says, to add to Warner Bros. Discovery matching Amazon's NBA offer, there's also a report stating that the NBA will likely reject Warner Bros. Offer. Thank you, Michael. That does add some necessary context. I do appreciate it. And as has seen Braun and Otis becoming pals, something we should be watching? Oh, absolutely. I do always like it when they do stuff like this, when in the background people become friends. One thing I do mention a lot when it comes to this is Baron Corbin and Kevin Owens, who on screen are incredibly close friends, and it's never really mentioned, it just happens. Oh, Spider-Boss says AEW's content appeared on HBO Max. Interesting. Danny said they're both Randy and Kevin injured now, so Cody is alone at SummerSlam unless Roman returns. Pretty much, yeah. Radar says, any Charlotte update? I feel like she's close to returning. She is. She's extremely close. There may be a number of big returns right after SummerSlam. Scorpio says, no Wyatt news. Not at this point, no. Noob says, hello Tom, how you doing lately? Doing very well, thank you Noob. Welcome to the show. Our top story. We are 4 likes away from 50. Give me that nice round number. That's not our top story, but I'd appreciate it. Let's Chris and Cassie Hugh. Our top story is about the shrinking of the WWE roster, mostly helmed by Nick Khan. Now, the WWE started this quite a while ago with a round of releases that the idea would be the final round of releases. Now, this final round of releases was designed knowing that they had a brand new team coming in talent relations who could keep track of new contracts and, in fact, expiring contracts. WWE and Nick Khan basically looked through every contract that was listed to be up soon, and what they essentially made happen was they created a list of impending contracts, worked out what value they felt said people brought, and decided that instead of releasing people, they would offer them what they believed to be value for money for the WWE. This is one of the reasons why we're seeing so many wrestlers take so long now, in fact, in order to actually put their offer for, to decide what they're going to be doing. For example, technically, Becky Lynch is not currently under WWE contract, even though an agreement is already in place. It's one of the reasons that Drew McIntyre took so long to make his decision, and then even though The Rock, obviously, afterwards would celebrate that decision and make it seem like it was all in the bag, Drew McIntyre got a hell of a big deal, and there were offers from elsewhere ready to go that did not end up being sent because legally they were not able to do so. Messages were sent, but quietly and behind the scenes. Multiple WWE wrestlers are now intentionally running down their contracts with the simple intention of seeing what other companies offer before signing their new deals. The WWE know about this and are said to be pretty happy with it overall. They are offering what they believe to be the right amount of value, and when it comes to the WWE, they are offering lower than they would previously do so. They are confident that even if there is more money in AEW, if people are choosing to go to AEW for more money, they're choosing to go for the wrong reasons, and they don't want them anyway. Triple H was alluding to this in a promo that was believed to be an attack on Will Ospreay around WrestleMania weekend. That's not necessarily what they're talking about. Chad Gable was one of the people who actually went out of contract briefly, legally was approached by other companies such as TNA and AEW, and decided that the WWE offer was better, even though the money from AEW is said to have been higher. That said, Chad Gable was not the first. The first one, and here's a name you don't hear too often, was actually Drew Gulak, who wrestled for 2 weeks without a WWE contract, waiting to see if anyone else would make an offer for him. They didn't, so he signed a WWE deal way back when. He has since left the company. Wrestlers like Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre are testing WWE, almost teasing Nick Khan to make a big offer, but that big offer when it came to those 3 did come, because in a game of chicken, there's always at least one loser. The big offer did not come for Finn Balor, who was technically out of contract before he made the deal. Natalya is also in that grey area at current. You're seeing a lot of wrestlers using wrestling media to try and increase their value. CM Punk did this, and this is my most watched WTF Wrestling, and in fact my most watched YouTube video detailing how he used wrestling media. The last few days, you've seen a lot of news come out about Bobby Lashley, because Bobby Lashley is trying to make a point to the WWE. Basically, he's saying, you need to blink first because I'm not going to. They're not going to. WWE at the same time is looking to bring in non-WWE wrestlers to fill gaps and keep things fresh, in a similar way to how AEW did with AEW Dark. They're going through non-WWE entities in order to attempt to entice wrestlers in, essentially meaning that they are not directly contacting wrestlers, they're contacting companies that they work for. WWE is said to have been particularly impressed by Joe Hendry, not by his wrestling acumen per se, but by his ability to self-promote. That has been very well received by WWE management. In addition though, TNA has actually been approached by WWE most often, not for Joe Hendry, and in fact not for someone signed full-time to TNA. The WWE have been speaking to TNA most often about bringing Mustafa Ali back to the WWE, at least to NXT, briefly. For Ali's part, he's not said to be interested. Getting on to Bobby Lashley and MVP, where I know a lot of people are invested. Another contract offer has been made to Bobby Lashley that's been basically described as insulting, similar to the situation with Ricochet. The WWE are putting in offers that aren't necessarily much higher than the money that people are already on, but in the case of a Bobby Lashley, the offer might even be lower. There are rumours that the money on offer is lower because Bobby Lashley is no longer viewed as a main eventer. In a world of Cody Rhodes, Bobby Lashley is not believed to be more fitting than a Gunter, for example. And even though Bobby Lashley is, in my opinion, top tier, the WWE, and particularly Nick Khan, believe that the value isn't there as it once was. Lashley is said to be keen to see how much companies like TNA, where he does have very fond memories, and AEW are willing to offer before committing. This is becoming common practice after WWE changed tactics with wrestlers like Edge. An offer was made with Edge. Edge essentially tried to get them to change the offer, the WWE didn't, so he left. Bobby Lashley may choose to leave. The WWE offer is still on the table until which point that he signs elsewhere. So he may just take a break and then return, which is what is happening, of course, with Becky Lynch. As regards MVP, and this is a bit of a wider range here, MVP speaks for a lot of wrestlers backstage and is incredibly popular. Losing him is tantamount to losing a serious ambassador to the black community of wrestlers in WWE, to the point that WWE is said to be considering offering MVP a lot more of an increase than they are offering Bobby Lashley. MVP takes on a lot more of a managerial role and is believed to be a very strong locker room leader. That said, he himself has not been used regularly for some time, and his partnership with Omos is not believed to be bearing fruit. Many in WWE blame the rise of the Bloodline for the collapse of the Hurt business that it intended to run a very similar course. There is believed to be some bitterness over the fact that the Bloodline really did kind of steal Hurt Business's stuff. Eventually, particularly when Sami Zayn was involved and they went full mafia. Regarding rumours that almost everyone leaving WWE will go to AEW, there is actually method to the madness. AEW did pick up a vast quantity of released WWE talent, but the grass isn't as green as it once was, and the talent pool is such now that AEW can afford to be a lot more selective. They're still actively cutting their own budget, and with the money on offer from the TV stations that is expected, they are simply not getting the income increase that they were hoping for. Dreams of a $1 billion TV deal have been left completely out the window. Now, while they're still actively cutting their own budget, they are also, or at least have been cutting that budget since before they offered Adam Copeland a frankly staggering sum to sign up. So it's not believed that AEW can offer many more big deals, and that's one of the reasons that we haven't seen Ricochet just yet. They are believed to be offering a lot more part-time deals, a lot more limited day options, and a lot more options which essentially amount to freelance. The WWE has changed their tactics. They are now open to people leaving, willing and able to let people test the water in other companies, and are confident that if someone doesn't want to sign with WWE, they never wanted them to begin with. In fact, I can state that the WWE had creative plans ready to go that would have seen Chad Gable's storyline abandoned entirely. There's a bit more news still to come. It will be a relatively brief show, unless you have questions about things I've been told about sort of in the backstage area. We've got a little bit on social media training for a few new members of the roster, WWE's response to the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley storyline, and a little bit on CM Punk's impending return to the ring. So I'll catch up with the chat and see where we're going. KJ says, Tom, what's up, man? Your wall looks nice. It looks horrible, and you know it, but give it time. I'm liking this curve that the webcam's giving it. I quite like that. Hector says, to piggyback on that, AEW on Max Info, think it's only available in France and similar areas, and it's been available for a while now. Interesting, Hector. Again, a lovely bit of context. Bear with me just 1 second. Some things never change, but this room be dusty. Sean says, I believe Fightful or PWInsider confirmed that Natalya has re-signed with WWE. She was, to my knowledge, still at this point out of contract, but considering her options and leaning towards returning to WWE. Roger says, will Charlotte return as a babyface or a heel? A babyface. Danny says, will you be doing a SummerSlam watch party? I need to double check this because I'm at a wedding at some point soon, which snuck up on me. So let me just double check my schedule. Could you just give me the date of the... Yes, I will be hosting a SummerSlam watch party. Looking forward to it. Spider-Boss says, new tag team champions on Raw, and WWE still forgetting there is a tag team division there. WWE aren't forgetting. Triple H is forgetting. I've told you guys this a few times. Eric says, do you watch The Boys? I'm not caught up. Ken says, hey Tom, any Liv Morgan news today? Also, congrats on the house. Thank you, Ken. There's a little bit of Liv Morgan news still to come. KJ says, hey Tom, have you seen that Warner Brothers Discovery is planned? Yes, that has been mentioned in the chat already, KJ. Sean says, are you surprised we haven't gotten the news of Becky re-signing yet? No. Once she returns, we'll get the news. Spider-Boss says, it's amazing that WWE pay more money to a part-timer as Logan Paul instead of paying more money to stars as Becky, Bianca and Seth. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, I can say, get more money than Logan Paul does. Calm down. Razar says, I really hope Bobby doesn't leave. He's one of my favourites. It's a shame how he's been booked under Triple H. Roger says, have you heard Travis's new album, LA Times? I have not. Spider-Boss says, the bloodline is quite different from the Hurt Business. I think Vince ruined the Hurt Business. There were definitely some very clear similarities, and as I say, people backstage in WWE are not happy with the crossover. Jack is reporting something from Zero News, and I stopped reading. Spider-Boss says, do you think AEW will pair the Renegade Twins with Mercedes money? I don't know. I don't watch regularly enough to know who the Renegade Twins are. It's not hay fever, Danny. It's just there's a lot happening in this house at the moment. I've filled a lot of holes. More holes than I have in the rest of my life combined. Eric says, I'm glad that I don't have to see that stain on your wall that was in your old home. It was. And in fact, while I still have access to that house, I basically, over the next few days, will be going there, binning everything left, and saying goodbye. Roger, probably not. I'm a minimalist. So, for those that don't know, I moved around a lot as a child. My mother was a single mother. She was on full-time welfare. She couldn't work. She had 2 children. And she wasn't receiving any sort of child support or, in fact, help of any kind. We had to move around a lot. We had no choice. We were constantly getting rehoused, and we weren't particularly comfortable in the houses that we got. So whenever we would move around, it was a case of, right, you've got about 5 days, pack up your stuff and go. Eventually, you just don't have stuff. I can move pretty much everything that I need in 3 days. I've done it before, I'll do it again. I'm a minimalist. It's also one of the reasons I like black and white rooms, which is why this office is going to be black and white. That's what's going to happen. Now, there'll likely be green screens and such, and I'd love to see if I can chroma key out that paint and just see what we can do with it, but ultimately, it's going to be a black and white room. I'm a minimalist. So when it comes to merchandise, I wear t-shirts. Works for me better. Calvin says, do you feel like WWE missed a chance on turning Austin Theory face on Friday? Seeing him and Waller on Lowdown. Heard about any of the spoilers for this Friday? Heard plenty of spoilers. Nothing which I can really share, and nothing, well, very little of which I believe. You know how it goes. David, thank you very kindly for becoming a channel member. You'll receive a number of videos aren't available on the main channel. There's a few members only videos, including one which will be coming very shortly about this particular office and the setup that we've got here, and a few little things that I hate about the house so far. So thank you very kindly. That video will be coming your way, as well as plenty more over the course of it. Channel membership here does have members only videos, and also things like emotes and your name in green. So thank you very kindly. As regards Austin Theory, I don't think WWE missed a chance. They're still testing the water and still not 100% confident that Austin Theory is going to be the one, but John Cena might be a bit more of a help when he returns. Backwards says, random question about your move. Did you move to a different town or just across town? Just across town. So we're still Blackpool. It's not necessarily a better area, but it's a different area. One says, according to BJ Bethel, a reporter for Forbes, he reported that AEW and Warner Brothers have an agreement in principle for a new TV deal. The exclusive window was expected to end this past week. Thoughts? Agreement in principle doesn't mean anything. You and I could have an agreement in principle. We just say, we agree? Yeah, cool. We don't. It means nothing is signed. There is no agreement in principle. I love phrases like that. It's not accurate. Spider-Boss says it's amazing that Zelina Vega went from competing for the women's world title to getting squashed by Sonya last week. The only reason she was competing for the women's title was because Liv Morgan tried. Hector says one of the things that I think has gone overlooked by the casuals under the Triple H era, that they value locker room leaders more now than under Vince, regardless of where they fall on the card. Very true. They are trying to create essentially a massive tier system where the leaders will help in each individual division. There will also be leaders, for example, which is why The Miz is in that group, for the tag team division. Gold says, too bad Bobby Lashley, Ricochet and Dijak are not Samoans or cousins with The Rock and Roman. You say that, but the people who are coming in now as members of the Bloodline are coming in on very low amounts of money compared to a Bobby Lashley and a Ricochet. Spider-Boss says, do you think Seth Rollins will get involved in CM Punk versus Drew? More on that later. Sean says Logan Paul is now the third longest reigning US champion in history behind MVP and Dean Ambrose, and only has 2 defences with the title. Travesty, make no mistake. Welcome, John. How you doing, mate? And welcome, Roger. And welcome, Daniel, as well. A lot of people finding us now. Welcome to the show. RM says, hello, Tom. Do you know if MVP has any issues with Triple H? He alluded to something on Instagram. I think the issue is more that he's not happy with the creative element. Triple H, of course, is in charge of that, so I get why there would be some issues. To my knowledge, MVP is just not happy with the fact that he and Omos are being completely ignored. They're just not being used. Backwards says, being a minimalist makes life a little less stressful. It really does. Calvin, what question was that, and is it one I've already responded to? Spider-Boss says it was good talent in NXT made reference to Steph Vacker and Julia last week. Yep, they be coming. Danny says, who could John Cena's first opponent be expected to be and when? He'll be returning to the WWE shortly. The first opponent will be whoever is convenient at the time. Ishii, I don't have details on that at this point in time. The Wired Six are still in the process of being established. Chad Gable is being used for that. I did report that previously. Backwards says, do you think Orton and KO will miss SummerSlam? Nope, I think they'll appear at SummerSlam in Cody Rhodes' corner, or at least getting involved briefly in the main event. I think the main event of SummerSlam is going to be very similar to the main event of WrestleMania, but in place of The Undertaker will be Roman Reigns. Thank you, Sid, appreciate that. Steve says, spoiler warning, in your house. Can you explain how Solo loses this Saturday? For I see no outcome other than Sikoa winning the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. To be clear, it is next Saturday, but it's a very simple system. Roman Reigns. Spider-Boss says, I was watching some of Mercedes Money's recent interviews. Mercedes said WWE begged her to return. I remember you said WWE made an offer to Mercedes before she signed with AEW. They made several. Begged is a strong word, but it's also not inaccurate. Triple H and Stephanie worked really hard to try and make it happen. Jack says, people are saying AEW and Warner Brothers agree on some kind of deal based on Fightful report that AEW is being shown on Max International. No deal has been struck. Sean says, what do you think will be the opening match at SummerSlam? Liv versus Rhea. Hector says, the amount of spotlight they're putting on Damian Priest for SummerSlam weekend makes me think that they wait till Berlin to crown Gunter, but crazier things have happened. I think essentially he's been given as much spotlight as they can give him right now because his time in the spotlight is about to come to an end. Sid says, Joe Hendry said if he won the TNA World title he would challenge John Cena. He didn't. Rosar says, how many matches will be on the SummerSlam card? There's 5 announced so far. Do you think Punk Drew gets added? Anything else also getting added? I see 8 matches at least on the SummerSlam card. Villain says, will Bo be wrestling this SummerSlam with his family? No. Seems unlikely at this point. There isn't enough time to build it. And while it would make sense for Bo versus Chad Gable, at the moment, they're not necessarily in-ring talents. Spider-Boss says, many people on social media believe Roman will return to save Cody from the new bloodline. I think it's more likely that Roman spears Solo and Cody after the main event of SummerSlam. Yeah. I've laid out what I think is going to happen. I'm excited for it. I don't know if that's what they'll go for, but I'm excited for it. We have a bit more news, so let's jump into it. The fears that Jacob Fatu would overshadow Solo Sikoa have been realised, and the WWE are actively taking steps to try and counteract the overall popularity of Jacob Fatu over Solo Sikoa. You've seen this recently on social media when Jacob Fatu acknowledged his tribal chief, Solo Sikoa. Jacob Fatu has been told to get on social media and support. Many members of the new version of the Bloodline are actively receiving media training, social or otherwise. They came in for relatively low money, and the WWE believe that they're a little bit raw and need further refining in order to get to the level that the WWE is expecting. Joe says, do you know what, Tom? I'm so excited for SummerSlam. I've been watching rewatches of the old SummerSlams. I hope you enjoy, mate. SummerSlam pretty much always delivers. It's just one of those shows that you just can't be upset about. Villain says, can we expect an Alexa Bliss return at SummerSlam? Big returns tend to happen on Raw and SmackDown now instead of the PLEs under Triple H. Sid says, do you know when Paul Heyman will return? When Roman does. Backwards says, do you think when Gunter wins the world title, is it going to be a reign that lasts well over a year? No. I think it will last about 8 months. Yeah, about 8 months. Sean says, Pat McAfee called out the IWC on his show today, talking about a DLC pack in 2K24. Yeah, he's entitled to defend himself, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. Spider-Bell says, I think a good way for Roman's return, it's Heyman appears after the SummerSlam main event, then Roman's music hits, boom, Roman return. What I would love to see is we have the main event. Solo Sikoa is this close to beating Cody Rhodes. Then Roman's music hits. Paul Heyman walks out. Roman walks out. Jimmy Uso walks out. Jey Uso walks out. They stride down to the ring and all-out war is met. That's what I would do. And then afterwards, you know, Roman would regain control of the bloodline and would go back to what I was doing previously. But I would love it. T-Money says, what is next with the Wyatt Six? More establishing. They're still early in their careers, and the WWE believe that they need to really confirm who each individual is first. They should really just watch my video on it. King Arthur says, Tom, I see Bayley and Priest retaining at SummerSlam. I see Bayley retaining. And Gold says, anyone with a brain will realise right away that Jacob Fatu is much, much better than Solo Sikoa. I'm sorry, but Sikoa is not that good in the ring and the mic and not impressive physically. Solo Sikoa, what I will say, has improved massively in the last few months, so we'll give him a chance. Backwards says, that's very interesting because some special event is 8 months. Drew McIntyre, he must be the one to end Gunter's reign. You're welcome, T-Money. Appreciate you. Alex says, will Bo Dallas have a SummerSlam match? Seems unlikely. Sean says, old bloodline versus new bloodline in War Games. Still need to basically kill some time to get there, though. Spider-Bell says, do you think Rhea Ripley regains the women's world title at SummerSlam or Liv's title reign continues for a little longer? I think this is when Finn Balor turns on Judgment Day. That's my personal belief, my prediction. And speaking of Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley storyline paid off exactly as WWE intended, with the Rhea Ripley face turn that we saw upon her return. Turning Liv Morgan heel started at the Royal Rumble. Her history of Rhea Ripley, of course, going back to the Royal Rumble last year, even beyond that into their tag team, is pretty well received and pretty well remembered. And Liv Morgan's heel turn, including the Revenge Tour, has been very well celebrated as well. Liv Morgan is now firmly established as a top-level heel and has had at least a little time with the championship to really solidify her position. The WWE is said to be happy that they didn't spend too long in actual wrestling matches and focused instead on the story of the Revenge Tour, keeping the focus on Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, even though Rhea Ripley wasn't there. There was a concern that when it comes to opponents, they weren't really quality opponents for Liv to beat. But also, Liv is an underdog character, so they had difficulty basically establishing that she would comfortably beat people who then would also have to be underdogs. Rhea Ripley is particularly receiving major praise backstage for the quality of her return, the quality of her delivery, and the overall response that the crowd is giving her. As first reported on Spoiler Warning, Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the title is indeed the play for SummerSlam. And personally, I'm excited for that one. Just catching up. Calvin says, who do you see in the women's War Games match this year? I think Damage Control will be in it again because there aren't that many female factions. Though maybe Shayna Baszler, Sonya Deville and Zoe... Nope. Yes. And Zoe Stark will have something to say about it. Took me a moment there. Sid says, what is your favourite SummerSlam PLE? Mine is SummerSlam 92. Hard to say. There have been some very good ones. Personally, I really enjoyed the one that ended with the Fatal 4-Way featuring Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman. That also, I believe, featured Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks, which I enjoyed. KJ says, you fantasy booked your Roman return. If you don't mind, I'll do the same for the chat rate. Oh, absolutely. Dive in. Fantasy book away, guys. You go nuts. King Azza says, Tom, I see Roman coming back as a heel, have him turn babyface when Solo screws him against Cody. Yeah, I see him coming back face for one night only, then going against Cody again, then being screwed over by Solo and turning face. Dylan says, does Solo's bloodline get a new wise man, possibly Rikishi? No. They're intentionally getting Solo on the mic more. Hector says, I see why WWE is working with TNA, but realistically, why is WWE working with GCW? I don't have an issue with it, just curious how an indie promotion could help arguably the top wrestling company. The loan method, they're essentially giving them wrestlers that they have nothing else to do with. Backwards says, do you see Logan Paul taking a very extended break after SummerSlam? No, I see his schedule being basically exactly the same after he loses the United States Championship to LA Knight, maybe. KJ says, I think Cody should beat Solo. Done. The current bloodline attack Cody after the match. Jay comes out but gets beat down. Jimmy returns but comes down. Roman's music hits. Heyman walks out first. And wants to say, Tommy, still confident AEW will land a TV deal. Even though it doesn't look like it at the moment. It does still look like it. There is one company that have made them an offer they don't like. That doesn't mean they're not going to get a TV deal. Sid says, did you like Sting's debut in WWE? No, I reckon Ziggler should have won that one on his own merit. He was issuing to win the Rumble that year if he had. Calvin says, do you think The Rock may appear at SummerSlam? Yes, but not live. Alyssa says, want to see... Oh, sorry. When do see Rhea Ripley get revenge on Liv Morgan? When do see her get title have feud and WrestleMania? No, SummerSlam. Calvin said, do you think fans will lose interest once Theory turns face? I think fans have already lost interest in Austin Theory, and that's why they're having to do this. How many matches do you think will happen at Bash in Berlin? 5 or 6. It'll be a standard Triple H amount. SummerSlam 2017. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. Spider-Boss says, a little stare down between Rhea and Jey Uso after Jey defeated Dominic was interesting. I think Rhea could use Jey to get revenge on Dominic. I don't think Rhea forgave Dominic. Again, Jey Uso's kind of being dragged into everything at the minute, and I don't really... I think he's got other things to do. John says, do you think Sammy and Logan lose their titles at SummerSlam? No. Yes. Spider-Boss says, Mercedes versus Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam 2017 was good. It was a shame that Mercedes' title reign lasted only 8 days. Sean said, do you see Joe Hendry competing for championships in NXT? Yes. Do I see him winning them? No. And Sid said, is NWA Power still a thing? I believe so, yes. It's just not very popular. Final piece to cover. CM Punk is expected to wrestle at SummerSlam. Seth Rollins has been teased as being involved to give Punk somewhere to go once McIntyre is done with him. The match itself is expected to be a one-on-one. The reason they were teasing Seth Rollins being involved is if CM Punk was not fully cleared and they wanted to add someone else to basically take the heat for him. CM Punk is confident he'll be in, fully capable and 100% ready to go. McIntyre has been promised gold. This feud, while it has done great things for him, is not what he wants out of his new contract. A match with Gunter at WrestleMania seems to be beckoning. Spider-Boss says, who do you think could beat Roxanne Perez on NXT? Quite a lot of them. They do tend to heat people up quickly. Calvin says Joe Hendry should at least win the North American title, if not the NXT Championship. WWE will not give a championship to someone who is not currently working for the WWE. Sid said, is Camille signed with AEW? And not to my knowledge, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. And that is everything that I've got for you today. A relatively short one. I have been focusing more on the house, so it's taken a little while out of my schedule where I would instead have been spending a lot of time communicating with people. But we still hit 61 likes. Got a new member, thank you kindly for that. And we peaked at 99 people watching. I will be back live on Friday when this room might look a little bit different, or because I'm kind of focusing on other places first, it might look exactly the same. More likely, as I've said, I'll just tilt the webcam so the chimney breast isn't so obvious. But I feel like the lighting's good. I feel happy with what we've done here. And honestly, as much as anything else, I'm thrilled with what we've been able to achieve in a very short time in this house. This was a dream. A pipe dream, an unrealistic expectation that is now reality. If something happens to me, my children have a home. That was the point. Also, Jesus Christ, I'm going so grey. Don't think I've got that long left. To wrap it up, I'll see you Wednesday for PLE Wednesdays when I'll talk about SummerSlam. Until then, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.